What is up, Dallas Cowboys fans? It's your old friend IndyCarTim here with your Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz live at 7 a.m. right here on FanStream Sports and the Fish Report YouTube channel and across the country, coast to coast and border to border. I don't know if that's actually true. I mean, I guess technically we're around the world live because we're on YouTube. We're also on X. We're on Twitch. We're on Kick because that's the thing now apparently. And we're on Facebook, all live right here every morning, every weekday morning, 7 a.m., bringing you some hot Cowboys takes, sometimes some tepid Cowboys takes, and frankly, some of you say they're just frankly bad Cowboys takes, and I get it. That's cool. You can be wrong some of the time, too. We'll trade days. I'll be wrong sometimes, and you can be wrong sometimes. It's just the way it works. But why can't we all just get along? As the great Rodney King once said. By the way, I've used that Rodney King quote way too many times in the last week. Something's going on. I need to find a better quote. All right, Cowboys Nation. We are here to talk Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator as the Cowboys have officially taken step one in fixing this absolute dumpster fire that was the 2025 defense. And that first step was very simple. It was firing Matt Eberflus. It finally happened. We discussed it yesterday. Why it shocked me, the timing of it shocked me. Not the firing itself, but why the timing shocked me. This was done very quickly, way quicker than I thought it would be done, which led me to believe that this was not the firing, but the timing was Brian Schottenheimer driven. I still believe that after hearing some things that I've heard from those in the building and those in the know, which now leads me to believe and ask the question, who's in charge of hiring the next guy? Because we know Schotty really didn't have a lot to do with the Eberflus hire. But this was an easy decision, of course, after to fire a defensive coordinator after a season where you gave up just a tick over 30 points a game. It's not a bold stroke of genius that had to be done. So now that that's done, the story becomes who replaces Matt Eberflus and who's in charge of that decision. Because there's a power dynamic in play here. Before we go any further, yeah, y'all thought I forgot, didn't you? It is time for your daily dad joke. We do this every morning just to give you a little bit of levity to start your day. Just, even if it's a bad joke, you can kind of smile and say, God, that was terrible. But just say it with a smile. If you would like to submit your dad joke of the day for us to use on the air, info@fanstreamsports.com. Use dad joke on the subject lines to make sure that I see it and it comes to me. If you leave me your name, I will credit you on the air. And if you leave me your address, I will send you a FanStream Sports hat for your troubles. Today's joke of the day, dad joke of the day, comes from Ree in Roanoke. Almost sounds made up, but she sent me her address, so I'm assuming it's real. Ree in Roanoke offers. What did the grape say when it got stepped on? It said nothing. It just let out a little wine. There you go. Thank you, Ree. We'll get your hat out to you thusly. Appreciate you sharing that with us. Everybody just smile. Yes, they're dad jokes. They're supposed to be stupid. That's why we can giggle a little bit. Because if we can't giggle a little bit, especially when we're talking about the Cowboys defense, then what good is anything in the world? There's a power dynamic in play here with the Cowboys, and we're going to set the table for you. This will be the Cowboys' fourth defensive coordinator in as many seasons. And that reeks instability. It reeks panic. And that's why this hire this year matters more than any free agent the Cowboys could sign. It means more than any draft pick the Cowboys will select. And Stephen Jones said that interviews will start by the end of this week, specifically with candidates who are not involved in the NFL playoffs this weekend. And then Jerry spoke. And boy, did Jerry speak. Jerry said, quote, "We've got to do a better job of picking who's going in there," end quote. He said we've. That tells me Jerry pretty much admitted what most of us already knew, that the Eberflus hire was more Jerry than Schotty. Back in week 16, Jerry even admitted when discussing the defensive issues, he said, "You point your finger back at yourself about what went wrong on the defense." Which tells me, again, Jerry probably, mainly, definitely made that decision. Now, of course, he might have run it past Schotty, but what's Schotty going to do? A rookie head coach coming in, Jerry Jones telling you this is the guy I want to run your defense. I know it's a bad Jerry impersonation. Just go with it. Which now leads us to the million-dollar question. Is the next defensive coordinator a Schottenheimer pick or a Jerry Jones pick? And Jerry answered that already for us in the absolute most Jerry way possible when he made a geopolitical joke. He said, quote, "Trump just said it. I'm running it," end quote. Jerry laughed. We all laughed. But we can stop laughing now because let's be clear, Jerry Jones is still the final boss and will have the final say. What does Schottenheimer want in a defensive coordinator? Well, let's give some credit to Schotty because he knows what he wants. And he made it very clear when he laid out he wants, on his new defense, turnovers, communication, teaching, and flexibility. Not scheme rigidity, not we're going to run a 3-4 defense no matter what. He wants adaptability. And quite frankly, that is refreshing. And it tells us a lot about the candidate pool for the Cowboys. So let's run through a few names here. And these are not guys that you're going to be unfamiliar with. Most of you, if you've been around the NFL or watched the NFL for any length of time, the main guy that I've touted this week and last week, Brian Flores. Of course, the Vikings defense has thrived under Brian Flores, who runs a pretty complex scheme. His blitz rate for the 2025 regular season was 49.5%. And they still racked up 49 sacks. That's fourth in the NFL. And you know what? His coaching job on the defense was even more impressive when you consider who the Vikings had at quarterback in J.J. McCarthy in his first year as the team starter. McCarthy ranked dead last in the NFL in completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, and passer rating. And Flores was able to overcome those offensive deficiencies. So you give Brian Flores a top 10 defense on the other side of the ball, which Dallas had in year one under Schotty. Imagine how that could go. Schottenheimer, too, has routinely praised Flores. He admitted in the Cowboys game loss against the Vikings that Flores flat out outcoached him. So there's a respect there. And, fit-wise, personnel, those are all things that would have to be worked out. Again, it's a pretty complex scheme. And we've seen how some of the Cowboys' defensive players react to a complex scheme. Now, I don't know that Flores' scheme is as complex, it's easy for me to say, as Matt Eberflus' scheme. But they're not dissimilar. Next on our list is Jonathan Gannon, the ex-Arizona Cardinals head coach. He was fired a couple days ago on Monday, I believe. But before he was the head coach in Arizona, he was the defensive coordinator of our hated Philadelphia Eagles, especially during that 2022 run to the Super Bowl when they came up just, 3 points short of beating Mahomes in that 38-33 game. So being with the Eagles, clearly he's got some familiarity with the NFC East. Gannon also coached alongside Cowboys' current OC, Clayton Adams, when they were both assistants with the Colts. So Gannon also hired Clayton Adams as the Cardinals' offensive line coach, where Adams was before he came to Dallas. Again, I think Gannon, I would have no issues with Gannon coming in as a DC. Don't want him as a head coach. I'd take him. I don't want Flores as a head coach, by the way, either. All of these guys have been, not all of these, but those two, obviously, head coaching experience. My next guy, head coaching experience, very recently, alongside Gannon, Raheem Morris. He was fired Sunday after 2 years in Atlanta and 2, I believe, 8 and 9 seasons. Morris, to me, is one of these guys who's going to be a better coordinator in the league than he would ever be as a head coach. And that's okay. Those guys serve their purpose. They serve a great role. Of course, Raheem Morris was the DC in the Rams Super Bowl run in 2021. He's coached Aaron Donald and I'm sure Aaron Donald had a little something to do with this, but he turned Aaron Donald into a star. 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, coming to Dallas, he would have Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, and the very up-and-coming Osa Odigizua under his tutelage. Would have no problem with Raheem Morris here. Now we go to maybe a couple of the lesser-name coaches that some of y'all might not be familiar with. There's just 2 left on our list here, guys. Again, I keep these things pretty short. Jim Leonhard, Broncos assistant coach and passing game coordinator. Schottenheimer and Leonhard's relationship goes way back to their days with the Jets, 15 or so years ago, when Schottenheimer was the OC and Jim Leonhard played safety. Leonhard was a DC at the collegiate level at the University of Wisconsin, where he went to school. He served as an interim head coach back in 2022. He's been with the Broncos since 2024. He earned the additional title of assistant head coach just this past season. If current Denver defensive coordinator Vance Joseph doesn't get a head coaching job, Leonhard could certainly be probably talked into leaving and becoming the Cowboys' new defensive coordinator. If Vance Joseph leaves and he's getting head coaching looks, then Leonhard probably is one of, if not the top candidate in Denver to become the new DC there. Would have no problem with Jim Leonhard. I wouldn't have any problem with any of these guys. And then finally, boys and girls on our list, Aden Durde. He is the DC up in Seattle. He and Schottenheimer kind of overlapped on Mike McCarthy's coaching staff. Durde was here as the D-line coach under Dan Quinn for a couple of years from 21 to 23. He helped develop Micah Parsons. He left Dallas to become the Seahawks DC under Mike McDonald. But Mike McDonald calls the plays in Seattle, not Durde. And that's why Durde could be talked into coming to Dallas, because Mike McDonald won't give up defensive play calling. Why would he? That's where he cut his teeth. That's where he became a star in Baltimore before he took the Seattle job. So it wouldn't necessarily be considered a lateral move. It's a promotion because Durde would be the play caller here. So he would still retain the title of defensive coordinator, but play caller would be added to that list of duties. So the NFL considers that a promotion. So, those are my guys I kind of have at the top of the list. Certainly there are other names. And at this point, again, we just need some stability here. Whoever gets hired this time around, got to be somebody that can stay 2, 3, 4 years. The Cowboys, again, would like somebody with some experience, some head coaching experience maybe. We got 3 guys on that list, and there are others out there I did not discuss. Maybe we'll get into those a little bit later this week. as we start to hear some names. As again, the Cowboys say they will start interviews later this week. We don't know what that means. So, again, final thought here. The Cowboys don't just need a name on defense. They need to finally find an identity, someone who can adapt to the personnel, not the other way around. Schotty wants someone with communication skills. You would think that would be a prerequisite for a coaching job, but we've seen that to not be true. We need a defense that can create turnovers. And it's going to have to be someone who can navigate the reality that Jerry Jones will always be involved, whether people like it or not. This hire is going to tell us everything about where the franchise is headed next year. Because if they miss again, we can't blame Matt Eberflus because he's gone now. And that's where we are. That's going to do it for us today, boys and girls. Certainly appreciate y'all tuning in today. Good morning to you. Have a happy Thursday. We'll talk some more Cowboys, 7 a.m. Central Time tomorrow right here on FanStream Sports. Until next time, boys and girls, we'll see you.